Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I am continuing to get trees ready for this weekend's Kitchener-Waterloo Bonsai Society's fall show and sale. Here is a look at my Portulacaria afra forest. So I let it grow this summer, and then I did a couple of steps of pruning. I pruned this side of the tree first. I left this one grow a little longer, and then I pruned that side back. And I didn't really think it was going to be looking good for the fall shows, but it's actually looking quite nice now. I did spray the leaves with soap and water. I noticed a few scale insects on them, and it turned the older leaves kind of a brown color. So I'll have to prune all those off, and hopefully after that selective leaf pruning and trimming the trees up, hopefully it still looks good for the show. I guess we'll see at the end of the day today. If it's looking good, then I'll put it in the fall show. And if it looks too sparse or just not ready, I'll save it for another year. I'll show you what the brown leaves look like. So if we come under here, you can see there's a brown leaf here. The whole leaf didn't turn brown, just bits of it. So I've got to clean all those leaves out. There's a few in here that have turned yellow. You can see those. They'll have to be pruned out. And some of them are just older leaves. They're not ones that got damaged by the soap and water. Yeah, so there's a few, discolored leaves that need to be cleaned out. So that's where I'll begin. So I'll work away cleaning up the leaves, and we will come back and see how sparse it looks with all these older leaves removed. Hopefully it won't look too bad. I have finished removing all the old discolored leaves off the trees. So here's a look at the forest now. I think it still looks quite good. And these Portulacaria afras are styled to look like the giant African Baobab tree. And the Baobab tree is leafless for half the year in the dry season anyway, so even if this was a little sparse looking, I still think it would be nice because you'd see both the structure of the tree and some foliage. If it was too heavy on top, it would just look like, a thick trunk with a mushroom canopy. So it's nice to see a bit of the structure of the tree also. Kind of a balance between structure and full canopies. My next step with the forest is to prune up that new growth, kind of making the trees a little more compact. You can see some of the shoots are just getting quite long and extending, and they grow straight, so you need to prune them back to the first or second set of leaves to kind of keep the branches with taper and movement. Otherwise they just grow absolutely straight until gravity reaches them and they kind of arc. So that's my next step, pruning up the trees. So here I go. And as I usually do, I'm going to start on the main tree. So here's a shoot sticking straight up that I can prune back way back to here. There's a shoot sticking straight up here. I can prune back. There's one here. I can prune back. One here. I can prune this vertical part off here and this vertical part off here. Like that. This needs pruning. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. It's pruned up anyway. Oh, it's looking okay. It would be nice, if it had filled in a bit more. Probably this tree will look fantastic in about 2 weeks. So maybe for the Toronto Bonsai Society show it'll look good. But I think it looks quite acceptable. It's a nice looking tree. Oh, I got a shoot here I gotta remove. It's growing across everything. Yeah. So I'll prune up all the other trees in the forest, and then we'll come back and have a look at it and maybe do some more decisions on the branches. The other thing I want to do is clean up the trunks. You can see, just like my Sarissa, they're kind of green and covered with algae. So I want to get out the toothbrush and the soap and water and just clean those up. I have got the trees pruned up in the forest, so there's what I took off. A lot of the tips of new growth. And here's a look at the forest now. Yeah, it's looking much better. So my next step is to clean up the trunks. You can see all that green algae on the trunk there. That needs to be cleaned off so it's a nice brighter color. And I'll do that with all the trees. When I'm cleaning up these trunks with the soap and water, I'll have to be careful that I don't get any soap on the leaves, because I don't want them going brown again. So I'll just put a little bit of soap on the toothbrush and scrub away so it doesn't spray on the leaves. Okay, I've got my soap and water, so I'll just spray the toothbrush and start scrubbing on the trunk. So I know some people use vinegar, a diluted mix of vinegar, and that probably works, but I'm just afraid it might do something to the roots. So I know the soap and water doesn't hurt the roots, but I'm not sure about vinegar, so give it a rinse. So that's making the trunk brighter. Well, that's working quite well. You can see how bright the trunk is, and when that dries it'll be even brighter. So I'll get this tree at the back here now. So I'll continue working away on the trees, getting them cleaned up. I'll have to go around the back and do those. And then we'll come back and have a look at it. I've got the trunks all cleaned up now. So I'm going to give the entire planting a watering, a thorough watering to flush any of that soap out of the soil. And then I'll tilt the pot up to kind of get the excess water out of the soil. And then we'll let it dry and come back and have a look at it. I've given it a good thorough watering, so I'm tilting the pot up. And all the excess water is draining out. So I'll leave that sit for a while. Let that drain thoroughly. I don't want it, all these trees sitting in wet soil. I want to dry it out as much as I can. And that should be good, its final watering for the show on Saturday. I see the black swallowtail caterpillar down here again. Well, it could be a different one, I guess, but there it is. Munching away. Very cool. There's the orange cat sleeping under the bonsai bench. Here's a look at the trunks of the tree now. So they're almost dry. I can't wait any longer or the light will go. Yeah, they all look much, much better. So I'm just looking at the landscape now, seeing if there's anything that looks out of place, out of scale, that spoils the illusion that they're big trees. I think it all is looking quite good. I might top up my white sand here, sort of the edge of the salt flats before the show, and I'll oil the pot up, and I have a stand for it, and I'll have to pick out an accent plant, but yeah, the trunks came out quite nice. So let's fly in now and have a final look at my Portulacaria afra forest. have a visitor in the greenhouse. It's Jonesy. Hello, Jonesy. Are you gonna flop down and get petted? Eh? He's a good fella. So the mother and Jonesy here, decided they wanted to come inside the house last night and have a look around. And they did. They stayed for about 10 minutes. And then they decided, oh, we better get back outside. So that was a first. That was kind of a surprise. So I think we're both going to have to take the mother and Jonesy to the vet, get all their shots. And they'll be indoor cats for the winter, I guess. So that'll make a total of 4 cats. That's a lot of cats. It's hard to watch my actual baobab trees turn yellow. You can see all the yellow leaves on them because I've stopped watering them. I'm going to let them dry out now for the winter. Yeah, it's kind of sad, but it's time for them to go dormant. My desert rose back here has 2 flowers on it today, and there's another one going to come out soon. So that's kind of exciting. I've got my Baobab Portulacaria afra forest all pruned up, ready for the show this weekend, the Kitchener-Waterloo Bonsai Society Fall Show and Sale on Saturday. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.